Hey Devon, I think I already mentioned this to you, but your form is so good that I'm just so excited by how strong I know you're going to be. In a short period of time, you're going to be doing unassisted chin-ups and pull-ups and push-ups and all that stuff. I've been doing this long enough to kind of figure out, you know, what somebody's potential is, and you have a ton of it. So, look, it's not going to be easy, but you're going to be fitter than you ever thought was possible, and I'm just so excited to be a part of that. Anyway, just a couple of things, and a lot of this is nitpicking, but I do want to always offer you, insight into where we can do better. For that negative chin up, great job on starting chin above the bar. That's going to go a long way. Just make sure, so you're really good at control here, and then as we get towards the bottom, it goes a little bit faster. So just make sure that that descent is a little bit more equally distributed, more evenly distributed throughout the entire range of motion. So instead of like 1, 2, 3, 4, more like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. I hope that makes sense. So just evenly distribute that 6 to 8 second descent. For the Arnold press, let me just see here for a moment. For the Arnold press and any pressing that you're ever going to do, just make sure that at the top, when you are in this top position, that you think about the fist is stacked over the elbow, elbow stacked over the shoulder, and that the bicep is pretty close to the ear here. So not a ton of daylight between the shoulder and the ear, and that you push up. This is what we call active shoulders. This is an inactive shoulder, this is active. Also, if you look at the side profile here, okay, I wanna make sure that my arm does not go forward at all. This might depend on some shoulder range of motion, but again, just think about, okay, if I can see my bicep, that's probably no good. I want to back that up until it's pretty close or in line with my ear. When in doubt, just always think arm totally perpendicular to the floor, okay? But otherwise, those look fantastic. On the pullover, that looks great. Load it up a little bit more. I know that you can probably do at least 20 pounds with that. So I know those Bowflex dumbbells are a little bit cumbersome, but you should be able to do it. And then you can do the diamond hold where you're holding it basically like this as opposed to like this. And you can hold it the other way, but I'm just saying to load it up, it'll be a little bit easier. So I just wanted to compliment your plank up down. I think you really took to heart what I said about not, shifting the hips from side to side. Therein lies the value of doing a dynamic plank movement. You've got to brace your core to avoid that swaying from side to side. We call that an anti-rotation exercise, which is great. You did a really wonderful job. For the Turkish get-up, this actually has a little bit to do with that idea of the Arnold press and making sure that everything is perpendicular up at the top. But really, what I'm going to have you do, number one, load that up just a little bit, because for some people it's easier to figure out the movement, if you have the responsibility of keeping some weight over your head. But basically, no matter what position you are in, I would always look at my thumb, and that's going to help my body orient around my arm as opposed to my arm orienting around my body. What I mean by that is I'm going to make sure that my arm stays perpendicular to my body no matter what position I am in. Because as you can see, if I have 300 pounds here and I go forward even slightly, that's all going to come crashing down. So looking at the thumb or your fist is just a trick to help you keep that arm perpendicular position. So I'm always looking at it, and my body revolves around my arm instead of the other way around. So even in a position like this, we want to make sure we're not here or here or here, right? So do that move nice and slowly like you did, but just focus on gazing at your thumb or whatever reference point you want in that working arm. And really that's it. So yeah, load it up with like 5 pounds, and that'll help you concentrate on that just a little bit more. Let's see. So on your dip hold, now I couldn't see this very well, obviously not your fault, you filmed it great, but just one thing I want to make sure that you're doing, make sure that when you're in the up position that you're pushing through those handles, Otherwise, when we fatigue, we might have straight arms, but we also might end up getting into this shrugged position. So really make sure that you push down and through, like you're trying to push your hands through the handle so that everything stays open and down as opposed to closed and shrugged. I'm not saying that that's what you were doing. I just want to reiterate that because it's hard to see that. For the rear foot elevated split squat, forgive me, I'm going to take you on a little trip here. See if you can see this angle appropriately. You did these so well. They're an advanced single leg movement. What I want to make sure of is that in your back position, that this hip is open. The opposite of that would be if I sit back a little bit. You see how this knee is kind of in front and this hip is kind of closed? And you were like an inch away from having this almost perfect. Sit back into this heel so that if you were to look at yourself, you see that this knee is behind this hip. Just another way to put it, okay? So at each rep, I'm sitting into that heel of the front leg and I'm letting my hip open to the point where this knee is behind this hip as opposed to like here. Hope that makes sense. Now, for that Cossack squat, you said you weren't sure if you were doing it correctly. Well, I'm here to tell you that you did. And what I ultimately am going to want to have you do is to be able to do that completely unassisted, right? So what I want you to do is just pretend that this is what you were using. Ultimately, I want you to use sort of less and less assistance, okay? Just barely hanging on to the support that you use so that you can work on that strength. That's all. You did really well with that. Again, just really stoked to have you as a client. Let me know if you have any questions. Talk to you soon. Okay, bye.